Hello, I'm Tim Krul. Welcome to Norwich City Central.
Oh, we're back again. Hello, everybody. Lewis, Norwich City Central. I hope you're well. And I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's the fact that, when you support a football club and you care a lot about what it stands for and in the community, obviously, you might have this bias towards there being a lot of drama. But it does certainly feel like Norwich City Football Club over the years is the club in which the most drama occurs. It's been absolutely chaotic, and it's been another chaotic week in the world of Norwich City Football Club. As I sit here to you, it's Friday. It's almost been a week since Daniel Farke was sacked, and Norwich are no closer to announcing a manager. Frank Lampard, he was the odds-on favourite. A lot of media outlets were reporting Frank Lampard, the deal is done and he's going to be announced today. Until Frank Lampard pulled the plug, and it was reported and confirmed that Frank Lampard has rejected Norwich City, believing it's not the right move for him at this point in his managerial career. Absolutely fascinating situation around Norwich, and I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. And there's lots of different storylines you can have attached to this story. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Would you have taken Frank Lampard? Of course, now Frank's not going to be coming in. Would you have liked Frank Lampard to see a manager? To see manage Norwich. It's a really interesting situation. But yeah, you can have a lot of storylines and arcs around this, but fundamentally, it is a bit of a mess. Certainly from an external viewpoint, it is a real mess at Norwich at the moment with Stuart Webber, of course, pulling out on Daniel Farke and. Daniel Farke, I think a lot of fans agreed that it was the right time for him to go. It was, of course, pre-planned before his win against Brentford, and it would look like that Norwich have got their new manager sorted out. We've seen how quickly Aston Villa's manager's been sorted out. Norwich they had a short list of two the day Daniel Farke left, and it looked like it was going to be announced quite quickly. But yep, it's still going on, and really difficult to see who Norwich are going to bring in at the moment. Spoken about Frank Lampard and what he would bring. Of course, he didn't have the most managerial experience, but you would argue, a modern forward-thinking coach, someone who loves to play youth players. I think the only thing that was kind of hindering my thoughts of whether Frank would join is his personality and character. It's quite, he's bigger than the owners essentially. So whether he can work in that kind of dynamic was a difficult one. Of course, 2 years previously managed Chelsea, who are one of the biggest clubs in the world. And then the second thing around Frank Lampard as well was his lack of experience kind of in relegation battles, and I just didn't know whether it would fit. But yeah, Frank, of course, coming out today, and his essentially his reporters, the team around him said that it's too early in his career. So Frank Lampard is off. And yeah, going back to Stuart Webber, it does look a bit of a cock up, to be honest, because Norwich need a new manager. It's the international break. It's a really good opportunity for a new manager to come in and embed his ideas. It's needed. And when you look at Norwich's next 3 games as well, Southampton at home, Wolves at home, Newcastle away, you keep coming on about season-defining points, but it really is a season-defining point, particularly after that win against Brentford. So it's getting a little bit chaotic, a little bit mad, and I don't think we know who the next Norwich manager is going to be. In terms of looking forward, though, and looking at the next managers, Dean Smith is the name which has come up, which is absolutely fascinating. A bit about Dean Smith, of course, managed Brentford for 3 years rather successfully between 2015 and 2018 and brought them up slowly, incrementally. And then he got the Aston Villa job in the 18-19 season and got promoted with Aston Villa. Norwich City finished about 20 points ahead of Dean Smith's Aston Villa. And that Aston Villa team had the likes of Tammy Abraham, Jack Grealish, Tyrone Mings, so you'd certainly say Farke did a much better job at championship level. But no, still Dean Smith still did a good job to get Villa up, regardless of the team you have, and obviously winning the playoff final against Frank Lampard's Derby. It's funny how the names just keep flying, and it seems an incredibly small circle at the moment. But then Dean Smith, Aston Villa team that first season, they didn't spend a lot of money. They lost Tammy Abraham, and Dean Smith kept Villa up, and I know they had Jack Grealish, but it's still seen as a really good achievement by Aston Villa fans. And then the season last gone, Aston Villa finished 11th as well. And look, of course, Dean Smith's been operating on a bigger budget, but there's still pretty impressive achievements. Where he really let himself down was this season, where they spent £100 million. There was talk about European football for Aston Villa, and it just hasn't worked out for Dean Smith. He's lacked that real ability to work with these kind of top players, and I think they've lost 5 in a row. So when I think of Dean Smith, he doesn't excite me as much as Frank Lampard, who I think is a really bold appointment, mainly because of the name, and Kjetil Knutsen as well, who's done amazing things in Norway. But he's certainly a manager who's got Premier League experience, worked in relegation battles. Okay, maybe he's worked on a bigger budget, but in terms of his interview profile, he understood a lot about the club, understood the club's philosophy and the culture, which is absolutely critical. When you're working in Norwich City's area, you've got to understand the culture and what Norwich are trying to do with young players. So that was promising. And yeah, I think Dean Smith now looks like the favourite, which is definitely was not in the script. Of course, Stuart Webber had his two names. One of them was definitely Frank. I imagine the other was Kjetil Knutsen, although no official dialogues occurred between those two. But yeah, of course, Aston Villa sacked Dean Smith the day after Daniel Farke was sacked. And now he's strongly in the consideration and looks like the next Norwich City manager. So we've gone from Daniel Farke to Dean Smith, which is a really interesting choice. And I'm not sure how to feel about that, to be honest. It's a real difficult position to analyse this at the moment, because you really haven't got a clue what's going on, and you're also making assumptions. So it's really difficult to analyse where Norwich City are at the moment with this. But I was disappointed to see Frank Lampard obviously not come to Norwich. I know a lot of fans were against it, and I can see why, but it was still disappointing. And but about Dean Smith, I really don't know whether he would be successful at Norwich or not. It's a really interesting one. My main choice would still be Kjetil Knutsen, but it's difficult to see that working out with where he's at the moment, with the Norwegian league still going on and European football. So it looks like Dean Smith's the favourite. He's been managing for quite a long time. I think he's gone to America to see his family, but he could be coming home quite quickly because it need to be at Norwich and sorting out this mess Norwich City are in at the moment. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the whole situation at the moment. Of course, Frank Lampard rejecting Norwich. Frank Lampard, 24 hours ago looked a certainty to be at Norwich. So yeah, what's ever happened there is really disappointing. Norwich have had interviews with two managers as it stands, Lampard and Dean Smith, and Dean Smith is certainly on the radar, although he definitely was not on the radar on Stuart Webber's plans when Daniel Farke was sacked. So yeah, really interesting situation. Of course, Daniel Farke has been so more successful than Dean Smith in the Championship, but if we look at what Daniel Farke has done in the Premier League, and there was a ceiling, and we saw that on a good evidence of 50 games that Daniel Farke is probably not going to be good enough to take Norwich. Keep Norwich in the Premier League, and Dean Smith's been able to do that with Aston Villa, albeit a better side. But yeah, not necessarily the most inspirational name and an inspirational story with Dean Smith, but it could certainly work out. But to be honest, with the way this is going at the moment, I'm not even sure Norwich City are going to have a manager come Southampton. And if it is, it could be a name we've never heard of. That's how I feel at the moment with this situation. But I'd love to hear your thoughts down below on Frank Lampard not joining Norwich and who you think will be the next manager. There'll be so many developments. Goodness knows what will happen in the next 24 hours of Norwich City Football Club. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.